a wild and interesting weekend for myself. As many of you know, we're just not on YouTube, we're not just on Rumble, and we're not just on X, but we're also on TikTok. And I was watching a podcast over the weekend with Tim Pool, and he had on a leftist. And this leftist was still spewing hoaxes. The example here was the fine people on both sides. Was still pushing this after 8 years. 8 years this thing has been debunked, and they're still promulgating and believing in these hoaxes, in these fabricated lies from the mainstream media. Folks, we are going on almost a decade, and the left and the Democrat Party still believe in the fine people on both sides hoax. They still believe it. It is wild. So obviously I posted a video. I poked the bear, and then they came out of the woodworks and proved my point. They prove your point in your video in the comment section where they still believe in it. Well, he did say it. And then they start tagging my video with the clip of the video that proves my point, because they cut it off right, just perfectly right where they need to, right before Donald Trump continues. It's a remarkable thing, but leave it up to the Democrats to still believe in something almost a decade after it's already been disproven. And also their number one fact checker, Snopes, came out, and we covered it here live on the show. Snopes came out and said, yeah, no, he didn't say it. It's not real, but they'll still push it. They'll still promulgate it. So thought I'd share that all with you because I found it very, very interesting. Sound should be working. I think everybody can hear me. I think I'm good on my end. I should be, but let me know if you are not able to hear me, because that would be a problem considering we're a podcast. But it's reading it on my end unless something's unplugged, but let me know. All righty, here we go. Well, the big news yesterday is Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it's an aggressive form. The question is, did he hide it from all of us? And, well, let's just say I'm going to give you the answer to that question within the first 20 minutes of this show. Here we go. Joe Biden, diagnosed with aggressive form of prostate cancer. So President Joe Biden has officially been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, his office said in a statement on Sunday. So again, it wasn't just that he was loony and deranged, but he very well could have been, and most likely was, fighting cancer during his presidency, which might build credibility to the track marks and the drugs that Jill Biden might have been seen giving to him. Do y'all remember that during the debate, the original debate between him and Donald Trump, going back to 2020, where there was rumors that staff was giving Joe Biden pills, and we all thought it was for his cognitive abilities to enhance it, and very well could be, not sure. Well, last week, Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms, the statement said. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasizing to his bone, or at least going to it. Now, this is an extremely high score. The score only goes up to 10. The aggressiveness, I believe, only goes up to 5, if I have that right, meaning it's like the most aggressive of the aggressive. And we have here, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for more effective management, and they think they can fight back on this thing. The problem is that kind of once it spreads to the bones, you're almost screwed. And I want to be clear here, and I was clear on the video that I posted yesterday on TikTok. I don't like Joe Biden. I ripped this guy a new one for 4 years. Matter of fact, I released a short video with a joke that I made about Joe Biden about an hour before this news even broke. I don't like the guy. Terrible president, ran this country into the ground, or at least was a part of it. He enabled a lot of our enemies, just like we saw with the Iranians, just like we saw with the Houthis, just like we saw with Hamas, a bunch of people. I don't like the guy at all. I don't wish any ill will against Joe Biden. I genuinely wish him nothing but strength and wellness. I want to be clear here, and I'm not being satirical. I'm not being facetious. I'm not joking. I really do mean that. We've all known somebody that's either passed away from cancer or is currently diagnosed with cancer or has survived cancer. I know I have. I've had all of it in my life. I haven't had it personally, but I've known people that have personally passed away from it. Multiple people. I've known people that have survived it. I don't wish this upon anybody. Anybody. So I genuinely hope that he gets well. And I think prayers to him and his family will go a long way. But obviously, so will any treatment that he receives. I just want to make sure I get that out on the onset early on in the show. I don't want these leftists coming at me. Oh, sure, man. Yeah, you were hoping this would happen. No, I wasn't. I'm not like you psychos that talk about 86-47 and actually have gone after a president. We still don't know what happened with that assassination attempt. But no, I'm not like one of you psychos on the left that to ask for stuff like this. Yeah, I'm not. See, I'm a normal person to a degree. Okay. To a degree, I get it, Patriots. I'm a little off the reservation sometimes. I'm not better than anybody else, but boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, I'm better than the left. That's for damn sure. The former president had a polyp removed from his colon in 2021 that doctor says was a benign but potentially precancerous lesion that did not require further action, as Dr. Kevin O'Connor said at the time. I say bring this guy in for a deposition. I got some questions. I got a lot of questions for Mr. O'Connor. Said at the time, he also had a similar polyp removed from his colon in 2008. Routine surveillance is recommended for this finding, O'Connor said in 2021 in a letter to former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Typically, repeat colonoscopy in 7 to 10 years is recommended. Yeah, right. Not for somebody like Joe Biden that has multiple polyps already and a precancerous lesion. Are you kidding me? You're going to wait 7 to 10 years for that? Yeah, I don't think so. The median survival rate for prostate cancer that has metastasized to the bone is 21 months. So it's not good, by the way. And he has an extremely aggressive form of it. So this comes after the announcement in the latest string of disastrous post-presidency revelations for the former president. A forthcoming book from CNN host Jake Tapper and Axios journalist Alex Thompson reveals that Biden's inner circle worked to conceal his physical and cognitive decline at the end of his presidency. Last week, Axios released the audio of Biden's interview, which didn't reveal anything. Now, it's so wild that it is shocking. Okay, that was the word that they kept using, meaning Jake Tapper and journalist Alex Thompson. It was shocking that Joe Biden that was being hid from his cabinet members. It was shocking that he was slurring through his words. No, it wasn't. Matter of fact, for almost 4 years straight, we had an opener here on the Bald Brad Show. Every time I went live, I would say Joe Biden is easily, by far, not even close, the worst president in American history. And then I would ramble off this. I would say this is a guy that hit a golf ball backwards, fell up a flight of stairs numerous amounts of times. He fought with his teleprompter every single day. The teleprompter is undefeated. I would love to take a selfie and photo with this teleprompter when it gets hopefully retired into Joe Biden's library that he's over budget on. It seems they can't build it properly. This is a guy that looked for dead people in the crowd, conversed with people that were in the spiritual realm, have been gone for 40 years. 40 years, longer than I've been alive. Joe Biden's conversing and seeing them. This guy's taking photos with people at events that were never there in the first place. I go on and on about that opener because it continues. No, we all knew what was going on. We knew on the campaign what was going on. But to the left, because they're so blinded, I don't know what it is, that they just, I don't know if it's that they have to come to terms with reality, that they voted for a guy that was the brain capacity of a gnat. I'm not sure. But they did. In the same way, they're putting their blinders on like they're the horses. You know what I'm talking about? Those horses that have like the blinders going on the sides, like they're so tunnel vision that they have to just focus on orange bad man bad and they can't see everything else around it. Kind of like the hoaxes. So doctors are raising concerns. Doctors are raising some big concerns around the country right now about the timing of Biden's cancer diagnosis. I got some clips and stuff for you guys. Hang in there. Unbelievable that this was missed. Sure. It's a lot. It's unbelievable that this is always unbelievable that something's missed, right? It's either people really suck at their jobs or there's a lot of cover-ups that have been going on for the last 4 years regarding Joey. Joe Biden's office again announced that he had diagnosed with a form of cancer, which we just got done covering. Almost immediately, doctors took to social media. Here we go. Here we go, baby. Buckle up, Patriots. Almost immediately, doctors took to social media to explain the diagnosis and what it meant for Biden. But many physicians were shocked that Biden, who in theory underwent routine, high-quality medical examinations in the White House, did not have his cancer discovered until it had progressed to such a late stage, meaning it was baloney. They knew the entire time and they hid it from all of you and me. Oh, yeah. But they were shocked. Everyone's shocked. I'm shocked that he had mental decline. I'm shocked that he poo-pooed his diaper. I am shocked that he couldn't get a word out correctly. I'm shocked that he slept majority of his presidency. I'm shocked. Maybe this is why he was going to Delaware so much. Maybe he was getting treatment. Who knows? The timing led some doctors to wonder whether Biden's physicians had missed something or if earlier diagnosis had gone underreported. So here's Ronnie Jackson, who I believe was a former physician to the president. Let's see. Sad and unfortunate, and I wish the former president the best in his treatment of this cancer, Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who previously served as White House physician. There we go. Care at the White House should be second to none. Unbelievable that this was missed. But the truth is, his physician was more concerned about assisting with the political cover-up than providing world-class medical care. No, I think he did provide world-class medical care, sir. I think he was told to lie about it. I think he was told to cover it up. Unbelievable. We got more here. Many doctors who raised concerns about Biden's diagnosis noted that prostate cancer is commonly detected early with a simple blood test, by the way. A protein that can indicate the presence of cancer when detected early in stages 1, 2, or 3, when the cancer has not spread beyond the prostate gland. Excuse me, the average 5-year survival rate is close to 100%. The average 5-year survival rate for men with stage 4 or metastatic prostate cancer drops to 28%. Dr. Chris George, who served as the medical doctor of Northwestern Health Network Cancer Program, told Reuters it was concerning that Biden's cancer had already spread to his bones and that nobody knew. You also have him saying, what concerns me is that the fact that the cancer has been reported to have already spread beyond the prostate to his bones. And when that cancer has spread to the bones, that makes it stage 4. And that means that the cancer is not curable. There's no treatment available that could cure the cancer. There's definitely treatment available that could control the cancer. And I think that's what they were talking about by managing it. You have Dr. George, medical doctor of the cancer program from the North Health Network, spoke, and I just read you that quote. George said it was possible that Biden's cancer was simply so aggressive that it advanced dramatically since Biden's last routine physical. But he said that the scenario still raised concerns and questions as to whether the PSA screening might have caught the problem sooner. I would assume that the former president gets a very thorough physical every year, George said. I would be interested to know what his PSA was the last time it was checked. Now, I remember covering the White House press briefings, and this was being questioned to Karine Jean-Pierre a lot of times, by the way, a lot of times. When's his physical? Is he doing okay? Is he getting his physical? Are you going to be transparent about that? Remember how they were supposed to be the most transparent administration that's ever existed. They were the least transparent. They were the worst administration that's ever existed. And I'm being dead serious about that, by the way. They sucked. They really, really sucked. And I'll get to the video clips, I promise, folks. I got a good one for you. It's sort of hard for me to believe that he's had a PSA within the past year that was normal. I think it's hard to believe for everybody. It's not even doctors. It's possible. It's definitely possible. But that would surprise me. Usually, prostate cancer doesn't, go full throttle like it's too often. When it does, that's usually a bad sign. That's an aggressive cancer for sure, but it does seem odd to me. When people are logical, like doctors or mathematicians, they don't base their reason or their findings based on feeling emotion like the progressive lefties do, and these idiotic anchors and these White House correspondent knuckleheads that don't want to actually address any questions that the American people have. They tend to think rationally, with their mind, logic, going, yeah, look, there's a small probability. There's actually a chance that this is possible, but there's like a 99% chance that, they lied about it, that they hid it up. They threw it under the carpet. They hid it under the rug. There's a big chance that happened. But here's what the left does. And the left has always done this. So is the mainstream media. But you're telling me there's 1%, right? Yeah, but we're telling you that most likely that's not the case. Yeah, but I want to hone in on that 1% because that's what I'm going to use for my argument whenever I go debate somebody. I want to use that outlier as an example what I'm going to use. Yeah, but you should really use the 99% of data. You should really use the 99% number because that's what's going to really be the main meat, and that way you're not lying to anybody. No. I want to use that 1% way out there in the ether. I want to use that as my narrative. Yeah, they just missed it, you guys. They missed it on the blood test, even though every doctor out there, follow the science, you guys. Hello, patriots. No, we were told. Everybody put your masks on. We were told. Follow the science. Listen to the doctors. You're not a doctor. You didn't go to medical school. What the hell do you know? Well, I know quite a bit. I know quite a bit of stuff. Follow the science, you guys. Listen to the doctors. Dr. Stephen Quay, a former faculty member at Stanford University, not exactly a stupid school, is it? A medicine pathology department also noted the significance of PSA screenings and how well it could detect prostate cancer in its early stages. Quote, prostate cancer is the easiest cancer to diagnose when it first starts and to watch it progress to bone metastasizes. He's like, yeah, you can't miss it. You couldn't miss it even if you tried, is basically what he's saying. The PSA blood test shows the rate of cancer cell growth. For even the most aggressive form, it is a 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic. Meaning this dude was president. By the way, hello. He had this before he was president. They elected a president that not only his brain wasn't working, the dude had cancer. They elected a guy with cancer, and we're supposed to take them seriously. Meaning it would be malpractice for this patient to show up and be first diagnosed with metastatic disease in May 2025. It is high. Here we go. It is highly likely he was carrying a diagnosis of prostate cancer throughout his White House tenure, and the American people were uninformed. There you go. Listen to the science, we were told, and we are. Oh, I am. Oh, I'm listening. Loud and clear. My ears are on. My big ears. Look at that. You heard it from the horse's mouth. From Stanford. Not a dum-dum. Okay, it's not one of these DEI hires, folks. Big deal. Big deal. In response to the post suggesting that Biden may have not been tested, some guidelines to not recommend PSA screenings for men over 70 unless they are high-risk factors. Well, wouldn't he be high risk if he had nodules found in 2008? Wouldn't that be something that would carry on that risk factor of these screenings? And by the way, you don't wait 7 to 10 years for those screening when nodules are found, and that especially when nodules are found to be precancerous like he had in 2021. Do you think you go, yeah, you know what? Forget it. Yeah, these are precancerous nodules that we're finding, but you know, we'll go ahead and wait till he's almost in the crypt to go ahead and give him another screening. It's not credible to imagine that a senator, vice president, president could have not have undergone routine blood tests that could include PSA, Quay said. I repeat my belief that it would be malpractice to not test PSA in a male U.S. president. Yes, there are a less than 5% of patients who can present this type of disease without primary indications via the PSA, but come on, man. Oh, I had more. Oh, you think that was it? No, we have way more doctors speaking up. Prostate cancer is diagnosed by a blood test called prostate-specific antigen, a PSA, as well as a rectal examination. Makes me wonder why someone running for president of the United States, especially someone who is elderly, did not have these examinations. Screening is critical. Oh no, he had them. A lot of people's coming out. Look at it. I got endless. So let's go to the videotape here. We have a urologist that was on News Nation, Dr. Schusterman, and he says it's unheard of for someone with Biden's level of care to not know he has had prostate cancer 5-10 years ago. Here we go.
Someone could get annual checkups and not notice a PSA elevation over the past, but this is what I typically would see in a VA hospital where a patient hasn't had medical attention in 10 years, presents to an emergency room with bone pain, and then they find that it's metastatic prostate cancer. But in the modern age of medicine, especially the fact that he was a former president, he had intensive state-of-the-art, care where we can see prostate cancer, 10 years in the past. So this is, it's very unusual to hear that someone has prostate cancer where they're annually being followed up. And the fact that we just find it at a Gleason 9 is just pretty much unheard of in this day and age of medicine. Even in the, even in the inner city populations, we
I
wouldn't
see.
see
So
it
you're saying
this bad.
even in a medically neglected population, it would be surprising to have a surprise diagnosis with a Gleason score of 9. So you're saying that certainly as
That's
he was
correct.
serving in the Oval Office, you believe that he knew that he had prostate cancer, and even potentially as he was running in 2020 before he assumed office?
Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and the aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years, even in the most aggressive form. Um, it's just, to me, it seems very surprising that the first diagnosis would be a metastatic diagnosis, especially Gleason 9 cancer, without having his PSA history. I mean, I would like him to get to release the PSA history right now to see what it was. I mean, I'm talking from an area of kind of not as much information as I would like to have
and
as
it is
a
not
urologist.
it is not standard. We were looking for a PSA score to be released as part of these public presidential health reports. We didn't get Trump's most recently either. I want to ask very quickly, so much has been made of his apparent cognitive decline. Is there a possibility that either the
Apparent? No. It's just out there in the open.
cancer itself or
That look like a face that's normal. Like, who the hell are you guys? Who am I?
any treatments he was undergoing in secret could affect cognitive function of a person?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens is when prostate cancer becomes, like, say you get treated for prostate cancer and then the prostate cancer recurs, what you would do is you would start someone on kind of a testosterone blocking hormone such as Lupron, and because Lupron acts to lower your testosterone, it gives you kind of like symptoms of depression, lower energy, fatigue. So there's a lot of things that go with being on Lupron treatment. So Lupron is a class of medicine that just castrates, chemically castrates someone so that the prostate cancer doesn't spread. And so Lupron was likely used in Joe
I understand.
Biden.
So to be very clear, you believe he was silently, secretly battling this for at least 5 years?
Well, I think that's yet to be seen. I mean, it would be very surprising, like I said earlier, for
It's always very surprising. Come on, just say it. The dude hid it from the American people. Every doctor we've read, again, I'm going to say this, we were told for years to follow the science. Listen to the experts, you guys. Line up 6 feet away from somebody, even though Fauci completely pulled that out of his tushy. And that's not my words. That's his words. He lied to us, and Democrats voted for it. Democrats went out and they said, yep, this is the guy. A lot of people took to social media yesterday, even Joe himself. Cancer touches us all, like so many of you. Jill and I have learned that we have our strongest in our broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support. Again, we have a lot of people just joining us at this portion of the show. Joe Biden would have had this type of cancer probably 5 to 7 years ago. Okay. He most likely had this cancer before he was ever president. And to say, what? Would you believe it? We caught it at stage 4, Joe. We caught it at its last stage. I don't think so. I think they knew well ahead of time. Deeply concerned to hear Joe Biden's health. Extend our best wishes. Barack Obama's in the mix here. Matt Walsh. This is most cynical thing I've ever seen in American politics. It's astounding, truly. Biden has stage 4 cancer. There's no way in hell they just caught it now. They knew it probably for years and lied to the American people. And then when they waited until 2 days before a book comes out about the cover up of his mental decline, so they could just change the subject and quiet all criticism in the name of compassion for a sick man. The whole thing is so transparent. These people are evil beyond words. And I actually agree. Oh, here's somebody that helped cover up probably. She probably knew that Joe had cancer. Maybe that's why Joe kept saying she was president. Maybe that was who was running the show. So a lot of people coming out. And again, I just want to be clear here. I don't wish any ill will against Joe Biden, and I want him much strength and health. I think that's it's pretty wrong. Pierce Morgan says, I'm going to block anyone I see, and there's already a lot of this vile crap flying around, mocking, celebrating, or playing partisan politics with Joe Biden's health news. The man has served his country for 50 years, and it's fighting for his life. Show some bloody respect. And look, I agree with that. I think we should show at least respect for an individual that has served. It's tough to show respect to Joe Biden, and I understand why people are struggling with that aspect, because he never showed respect to the American people. He hid his cognitive decline. He lied to the American people multiple times. We've shown montages. The guy spread hoaxes about Donald Trump. He went after the American people. He arrested congregational members. He arrested priests. He wanted to go after your First Amendment right by putting forth the ministry of truth. He allowed 20 plus million people to pour into this country illegally, violent criminals, gang members, terrorists, the whole gambit, the whole bit into this country. He's done a lot of harm. Look, I can understand why there's a lot of people that don't care that Joe Biden got cancer. There's a lot of people, I am sure, that think that he even deserved this. I'm not one of those people. I wish Joe Biden wellness, strength, and health. Does it take a lot for me to say that? Absolutely. But because I don't like him, like at all. I think the guy's deranged. I think he's a terrible person. You could tell by the way that he raised his kids, he's a terrible person. I still don't want any harm or ill will against him. I can only be so clear here. I have a heart of compassion. Well, just last week, Jill Biden dragged Joe on set to tape The View. A guy that has stage 4 cancer. She chauffeurs out his corpse on The View. It was Joe's worst TV interview ever, halting, gasping, fogging. Jill constantly interrupted to answer for him as he painfully spiraled. Here we go.
Mr. President, since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities. In the final year of your presidency, what is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. Number one. Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started. Not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying. And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work.
You know how greedy this guy is? You know remember how Donald Trump's so power hungry, he's authoritarian? This guy was going to run for president with stage 4, most likely terminal cancer. That's how greedy this SOB is. Okay? Don't wish any ill will against him. But then Democrats can't fathom or wrap their minds around why, look, we got problems listening to you. You're psychos. You voted for a guy that's mentally deranged, has stage 4 cancer, and has lied through his teeth for 50 freaking years.
And we got it done. And, one of the things I'm
and Alyssa, one of the things I think is that...
Oh, tell us, Jill.
The people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single...
Oh, God. I'm going back. Oh, she said it. I'm going back.
And they didn't see how hard Joe worked. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked. See how hard Joe worked. See how hard Joe worked. See how hard Joe worked every single day.
Hey, Jill, the guy took more vacation than any sitting president in U.S. history, almost 50%. They were being generous with the 40 to 45%. No, this guy took off 2 years worth of vacation time out of 4 years. Not to mention, you want to know why I'm saying that's generous? Is because, remember, Axios reported years ago that the White House administration, his staffers, were struggling getting him out of bed by 10 a.m. They were pulling him they were taking the carcass off the bed by the ankles while Joe kicked and flopped and whined that he had to go to work. He would only work, and this is from Axios, he would only work from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the first couple years. And that was at best. Then the reports came out saying, we can't get him out of bed. He won't get out of the residency bed till noon. He was only working from noon to 4. A lot of these times they would put a lid on everything. Like, can we talk to him? Is he out there? Is Joe alive? Remember how many times he came out with the CPAP machine marks on his face? Like, he doesn't even believe it. Give me a break. He worked hard. Yeah, worked hard to destroy this country by allowing a bunch of people to come in that don't belong here.
I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at
no way, that just was said after I got done talking about his schedule.
day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House. Being president is not like a job.
I can't do it, you guys. Oh my God, I'm sweating. I can't breathe. This is the best thing ever. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds of pure lying.
Phone reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House. Being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live. You live it 24 hours a day. That phone can ring at 11 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning. It's constant. You never leave it. And Joe worked really hard. I think he was a great president. And if you look at things today,
Joe doesn't even believe that. Joe knows. He knows.
If you look at things today, give me Joe Biden anytime.
The question is, who's more evil, I suppose. I mean, I hate saying about a person that has, terrible cancer, but I don't think Joe believes in what she said, to be honest. Hand to God, I really don't. I don't think she's delusional, folks. I think she's just really, really corrupt lady. There's no way. And you're going to show for your husband that has stage 4 cancer on stage like that? You can't finish a sentence properly. There's a fine tape poke, the pee stuff. Jeez, dude, put it away, Joe. Lock it up, buddy. Come on, take care of yourself. But don't worry, like Joy Behar said of The View, he works out every day. The guy's healthier than an ox. For those, again, we have a lot of new viewers that always join us. We have over 100,000 followers. We have over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, folks. So thank you for that, by the way. Again, thank you. We're only gaining more. Joy Behar of The View, of what you just saw sitting on that stage with Jill and Joe, said, yeah, he works out every day. The guy's healthy. Oh, he's so spunky. He's just this little sparky, isn't he? Yeah, he exercises. Yeah, sure he does. So again, more is coming out of Joe Biden. If you're having a good time here, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on Rumble. If you're new here, we do this each and every day, by the way, folks. Each and every day, we have an hour-long podcast where we go over a bunch of different news. As you can see up here at the top, I'm not even close to being done yet, nor are we really close to being done ourselves. We have 30 minutes more to go. But we do an hour-long podcast where we bring you all the news that you need to know about heading into your workday. We're a morning podcast. I host it myself. I run all the bells and whistles myself. We have some moderators that donate their time into the chat. Appreciate you. But we really love for you to join us here because we have the best community. Everybody says this. Test it. Test me on my words. Come and hang out in the chat with all the fine patriots here. We would love to have you. We got Comic's dad channel. There he is. Oh, look at he's beautiful. I remember you, Comic. I remember you, baby. Comic's dad channel, I believe, is over from Jay, Drunk CP30, if I have that correct, over there. I believe he's from Jay's channel that we rated last week. I'm almost positive. Appreciate you. Thank you for dropping by. Really, really appreciate that. We got a lot of new viewers here, folks. Again, we have over 100,000 subscribers over on YouTube alone. And if you take into account all of our subscribers, they're like 120,000. We also have a Dark MAGA podcast. If you want to get a little bit spicy on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we pop on the hat. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a Dark MAGA podcast. Now, how's that different than this show? Well, we go dark, baby. And it gets feisty in the chat. You can say whatever you want. You can go wild. And let me tell you, if you want to get feisty and have fun with like-minded people, conservatives, patriots that love this country, Dark MAGA is where it's at. I have to tell people to calm down in the chat every now and then because it gets a little crazy. And if you don't know what I mean, you just have to experience it for yourself. But I really do mean this. And I'm sorry that other people are coming from other channels. We have the best community. It's true. I got to say it. Well, I will never lie to you, but I tell you who will. Kamala Harris. So a former Kamala aide says the Biden-her interview audio, good for Democrats? Of course. Oh, they're such liars. They lied for years. Ashley Ettini, I think that's how you say her name, doesn't really matter, once an aide to former Vice President Kamala Harris. It's really tough for me to get that out of my mouth that she was ever vice president. Really, really tough. But to be fair, it's tough to get, look, to be fair, I'm going to be nice. It's also tough for her to get a few things out of her mouth, if you know what I'm saying. Said on Sunday that she believed the release of audio from former President Joe Biden's interview with the special counsel Robert Hur would ultimately help Democrats and could even be good for Biden. In the same way, Jill Biden just said, yeah, the guy worked 24/7 nonstop, as if we weren't able to see anything for the last 4 years. Gaslighting us, lovely. The audio, which was released on Friday afternoon, painted a picture that reflected Hur's assessment that Biden was an elderly man who was, at best, forgetful. The consensus across much of the media was that it was only reinforced claims that Biden has been diminished long before the White House or even other Democrat and members of the press admitted it. Correct. They wouldn't admit anything because they're liars. They're in cahoots here. But according to the individual that worked for Kamala Harris, who appeared on NBC's Meet the Press, which we'll get to in just one moment, as you can see, on Sunday, the release of the audio was far less damaging than it could have been, primarily because it would be out of the news cycle long before any of the Democrats who defended Biden's cognitive acuity and overall fitness had to run for re-election. Well, don't worry, because, look, I would love Donald Trump to run for a third term. That would be awesome. He's not going to. Okay? He's not going to. We already know that. They've come out and said it. All these people that covered up Joe Biden's cognitive decline, claimed that they didn't know he had cancer, which very well might actually be true on that one. They have to come to terms with this in about 3.5 years when they start doing their elections again. Okay, when they're doing their primaries. Here we go.
To turn to you and turn the conversation to former President Biden, all of the revelations this week. I do want to read something that a Biden spokesperson said about that audio that we heard from his conversation with special counsel Hur. He said the audio does nothing but confirm what is already public. Take us inside your conversations. How much does this moment hurt Democrats?
I mean, I agree with the spokesperson. I don't think it really has any impact, but this is how I see it. The real question is, why release this tape now? And it's clear to me that President Trump released the tape because he's trying to distract from his disastrous, unprecedented, disastrous first 100 days. I mean, we've all been talking about that at the table today. So to me, that's what's at play. Imagine a situation where you're so desperate, so underwater on every issue that you play your best card in the first 6 months of an administration. So the way I see this is good for Joe Biden. It's good for the Democratic Party because we can dispense with this now and not closer to the midterm
You think
elections.
it's good for
She thinks that's all we have. These people don't. Oh, Donald Trump blew his load in the first 6 months as if we're not going to have anything for the midterms. Really? Really? See, come here. No, we got to do this every time. Come here, Democrats. Patriots, if you could just go ahead and take a potty break for a moment. I got to talk to the lefties here in the Democrats. Take a potty break, brush yourself off a little bit, get comfy, okay? Take the kids to school. Democrats, come here. Listen up. Shh, stop talking, Democrats. Listen. Shh. Hey. We have a guy named Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in the FBI that are just holding on to all the goodies, all the information, the assassination information, the FBI information, the J6 information, the informant information, the Russia hoax information. Oh, Democrats, we have a lot more than what you think. And we're back. Thank you, everybody, for your potty break. I hope it went okay. We're back. Here we go. So they think this is going to be good for Democrats. What a bunch of idiots. Now we have it on tape. Remember how we couldn't get the tapes before? It's astonishing how all of a sudden they're just being leaked. All of a sudden now we have them. Interesting. Well, you might be wondering, hey, does Donald Trump know that Joe Biden has cancer and that he hid it from the American people for like 5 years plus? Well, let's see what the president has to say here. So Donald Trump responded to the sad news in a post on Truth Social that was also shared by the White House official X account, saying that he and the First Lady Melania Trump wished Biden and his family the best and hoped his treatment and recovery would be quick. So obviously, great words coming from Mr. 47, the best president in history. He said, quote, Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. Spoken like a true man. Spoken like a true president. And look, I think that for him to come out and say that Joe Biden ruined and mistreated Donald Trump and his family. I shouldn't say ruined because I don't think Trump could be ruined. Trump is an amazing human being. But what that man did to his family, what Joe Biden did to Donald Trump and his family, for him to come out and post that, doesn't that say a lot about who Donald Trump is, folks? Doesn't that say a lot about where Donald Trump's heart is at and the type of man that he is? The guy has done more charity work than Joe Biden did in his entire life. For him to come out and say that about a man who went after his kids, went after his family, rifled through Melania, her underwear drawer in the FBI raid, for him to come out and say something like that, doesn't that say who our president is? Doesn't that say who Donald J. Trump is a man? It's not easy saying something like that. I didn't have to go through that. Look, it's already hard enough for me to say it behind the camera about a guy that I don't like either. I don't like Joe Biden. He allowed for women to be murdered and raped in this country. There was just a terrorist attack about 2 hours south of me here in Palm Springs that nobody wants to talk about, where a guy blew up a vehicle outside of fraternity clinic. That very well, I don't know who the guy is. I gotta look into it, but who knows how he got here? Could very well be an American citizen. Could be. Could also be an illegal. Could have been a terrorist, a sleeper cell for all I know. I don't know yet. That's why I haven't covered it. But Joe sure and heck allowed terrorists into the country. There's over 1,000 of them here. How do we know that? Because we have actual terrorist trackers. One of them is Sarah Adams, Superbad codename, Superbad. She's come out and said, yeah, there's over 1,000 here. 1,000 that we know of. We know of them. Matter of fact, we know some of their license plate numbers of the cars they drive. This isn't my words. These are her words. And Joey allowed it to happen. And Donald Trump was willing to come out and still say nice words and hoping for his speedy recovery. So good for him for doing that. Good for him. That takes a lot. World-class man. All righty. So enough about Joe Biden's health. I think we talked about it for about 40 minutes. That's enough of that. Let's get into other news here. We got Japan Prime Minister saying there's an economic crisis that's worse than Greece. Y'all remember what happened with Greece? Boy, talk about a tanking of the economy. Folks, Japan, this is not good. This is really, really, really bad news. Japan's Prime Minister has made a stark comparison stating that Japan's financial situation is worse than Greece's. During his address, the statement comes amidst Japan facing severe economic challenges, including a debt to GDP ratio. It's so hard to say. I'm like losing my breath. For those that don't know me, I was a former public accountant. That doesn't mean I know everything, but I know numbers. And when I see certain numbers, and I'm not exaggerating, also when I was a tax accountant, this would happen quite often. It would take the wind out of me where people put themselves in such situations that it's just like, whoa, because I don't think they realize what it means all the time. Now, I'm not calling them stupid. I'm just saying I don't know if they know exactly what it means. A debt to GDP ratio over 260% with an aging population. This is also the effects that you're also seeing in China. China's not at 260 though. China itself also has an aging population. If you haven't seen our video that I did that talks about how China's real estate market is fully collapsing, which is way worse than our 2008 one, you got to watch that video. It is wild to see what they are dealing with right now in China. The financial crisis. They're trying to do run-in on banks in China to get their money, and they won't let them. The banks are completely shutting down. Some banks are going bankrupt. Let that one sink in. China's not doing well. The media has lied to all of you for a very, very long time. When Donald Trump has his boot on China's neck, they are feeling the pressure. And they were feeling the pressure before Donald Trump ever imposed tariffs. Donald Trump has all the cards. Donald Trump has all the power right now with Japan, with China, with India, with all these countries, the UK. He's making moves here, folks. They have an aging population, which is a massive problem, and a declining birth rate. Comments reflect deep concerns about Japan's fiscal health, though the unique context of Japan's economic structure suggests different implications compared to Greece. Yes, that's true, but China, heck, even us, a lot of countries with the amount of debt they have incurred, they're not producing as much. And again, how does this take effect? Well, GDP is the gross domestic product, and you have an aging population. Well, once that aging population sadly dies off, kind of like what we're going to have here with our baby boomers, with our Social Security and everything that goes into that and paying for that. Well, when everybody dies off and they're a big pool of your economy, they're not going to be producing anything. So you got to start thinking, 10, 20, 30 years down in the future here, we're going, we don't have enough people to support the system that we've created. We have that problem. China has that problem. A lot of people have this problem. So Japan is having a massive issue. So here's a couple people talking about that. Japan's prime minister's country financial situation is worse than Greece. Just in, Japan's 40-year bond yield just ticked up to 3.48, its highest level in 2 decades, folks. Just in, Japan's prime minister's country's financial situation is worse than Greece. It's not good, man. Shrinking birth rates, rising interest rates are making debt payments unsustainable. That's not good. Decades of stimulus have led to long-term economic stagnation. Again, this is exactly what we saw with China. And for those that would want to see that China video, let me go ahead and post that for all of you in the chat. I really do think it's worth your time. I wouldn't send you to a video that I didn't. So right here, you could see the China video, the housing crisis, and I also have the economy is crumbling over there. Factories are closing. To give you guys a perspective, when Donald Trump imposed the tariffs, so here's the video clip. Don't go now. You got to finish the show. Come on. What are you doing, Patriots? Come on. You got to stay with me here. Breathe. Before Donald Trump imposed the tariffs, they were struggling. Then he imposed the tariffs, and they weren't making huge margins over there in China. I know people live in China. What was happening was they were having to sell off either their factories, and because they weren't really making much money to begin with, they started protesting. The employees started protesting in China, and they weren't willing to release these cell phone videos out to the American people or to the world. They're actually deleting them off the internet. These protests that were taking place just like 1 or 2 weeks ago, because the factory owners weren't able to pay them. And I'm not talking like, they weren't able to pay them from like 2 weeks ago. It's so bad in China. These factory owners that were producing product that was shipping here that had a tariff on it, they couldn't even pay their workers going back to January, you guys. That's how bad it is over there. So people are protesting because they want their money. They haven't been paid in like 5 months. It's not good. The media is lying to you that China's going to eat our lunch, right? That's Joe Biden's words. Looked at Donald Trump straight in the face, goes, China's going to eat your lunch, man. Really, Joe? Because it looked like they smacked you around quite a bit. Yeah, China ain't doing so hot. Not to mention, you just saw that in the Japan tweet there that was talking about the prime minister, talking about how interest rates are going up, but also the stimulus. You hear the keyword stimulus? China, in that video I just sent to you guys in the chat, did the exact same thing with stimulus. The problem with the Chinese is they put all their retirement in their real estate. Whereas here in the United States, we put most of our retirement in 401ks, 403bs, Roth, traditional, those types of things. They put all their money in real estate. Well, if you heard what I said, the real estate market has completely crashed, worse than 2008. People are living out of apartment complexes that haven't even been remotely completed yet because they've already bought the complex itself, the unit, before it was ever even built. Or people have bought units and they haven't even broke ground yet, and they put their entire savings into it. They can't get the money back. It's wild, you guys. You got to watch the video. It's going to wake you up. It's going to wake you up big time. If you're new here, welcome to the Bald Brad Show. We do this each and every morning. We're not going anywhere. Each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'd love for you to join us. We got an awesome community. If you're one of the lurkers that doesn't want to come in the chat, hey, I get it. But you're missing out on a awesome, fabulous community. Everybody talks about how great the Patriots are in the chat. We got a lot of regulars that would love to engage with you. a lot of, really, I do mean that, a lot of great people that are like-minded. Come in and speak your voice, folks. We would love to hear from you. Well, you have here Trump's one big beautiful bill. The thing is so beautiful. You wouldn't believe it. I talked to Elon. I was on the phone. I was like, Elon, get some satellites on Mars. I want to see if you could see this big, beautiful bill from Mars. In a second attempt. Now, if you weren't aware, there was a first attempt and conservatives blocked it. Republicans are different than Democrats. Republican Party, and look, a lot of you don't like Johnson. I get that, but let's give credit where credit is due. Republican Party is, I guess, in a way fractured, not in a negative way, but there's a lot of different pockets within the Republican Party. And there's a lot of different types of conservatives. There's a lot of different types of Republican. And he has to manage all those different spheres that are within a giant sphere of the Republican Party. You don't get that with Democrats. Democrats are extremely united because they don't have an ideology. They don't have an objective. Their objective, I suppose, is to ruin the country. They've been doing a pretty good job of it. But Republicans, they have all these different sects. And he has to manage that. So the conservative portion of the Republican Party said, no, this isn't going to work for us. So it didn't get passed. Well, here in a second attempt last Sunday night, President Donald Trump's one big, beautiful bill prevailed in a critical committee vote after House GOP leadership managed to placate a handful of Republican deficit hawks who held out in their first go-around. Now, a lot of you are like, well, come on, just push through Donald Trump's agenda. I am a fiscal conservative at heart. I'm a registered Republican, but I'm a fiscal conservative. So like Chip Roy, I'm on his side. I don't think we should be continuing this deficit that we have with the budget that's only going to increase the national debt that we have that's going on to $37 trillion. Folks, each one of you in the chat owes, let's go to it. Hold on. No. I think it's important that people see this. I want to give you a heart attack before you go to work. Some of you are already at work. Right now, you as a taxpayer owe $323,000 if we were called on our notes today. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, but you understand what I mean. Even if you're just a citizen, you're like, well, Brad, I'm not a taxpayer. Gotcha, sucker. Well, you owe $107,000 to just the U.S. national debt. So this is a massive problem. We got to get spending under control. And that's what Chip Roy and the conservatives want. Well, the House Budget Committee advanced the package in a 17-16 vote along party lines, while 4 conservative defectors from last time voted present. It appears negotiations over the past couple of days were productive. Mike Johnson told reporters shortly before the Sunday vote that talks have been great and minor modifications were made, over the weekend. The exact details were not immediately known. So there you have it. I knew the holdout was Chip Roy. Look, I like Chip. Chip has a chip on his shoulder. Duh. So I don't blame him for standing up for his principles of being fiscal conservative, because it has to stop. He sees the end destination here for the United States, and it ain't a good one. It ain't a good one where we're heading. So at least there's some good news. The big, beautiful bill seems to be moving through. We also have Donald Trump telling Walmart CEO to eat the tariffs, says rising prices. President Donald Trump on Saturday told Walmart CEO not to raise prices for Americans, but instead to eat the tariffs. Trump recently dropped tariffs on Chinese imports from 145% down to 30%. But this week, the CEO said Walmart still could not absorb the extra cost and will have to increase prices. Walmart is one of the companies that you actually learn about in business school and how they treat their suppliers, which is just horrific, by the way. So I have no sympathy for Walmart. But what's fascinating about all of this is the left and the Democrat Party, along with the mainstream media, is going after Donald Trump for telling Walmart to eat the cost. I'm going to say this again because it plays into what I'm about to tell you. The mainstream media, the Democrat Party, the lefties, these progressives, are going after and targeting Donald Trump for telling Walmart to eat the cost. Patriots, the Democrats are always pushing for a higher minimum wage. I live in the state of California. One I'm very well with of how they keep pushing and increasing minimum wage. Guess what they tell Walmart to do? You hear Bernie Sanders do it all the time. The Waltons, the billionaires, you got to get it out of here. What do they always tell Walmart to do? To eat the cost. That is exactly right. Yes, sir. Eat the cost, Walmart. Oh, well, we're going to increase minimum wage. Eat the cost. You could do it. You're making millions. But when Donald Trump says the exact same stuff to them, but about tariffs, All of a sudden it's negative. It's bad. Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs on the reason for raising prices throughout the chain, the president told on Truth Social. Walmart made billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. Trump, I'll be watching you eat the tariffs or you're going to eat my lunch. I love Trump. The CEO made comments about having to raise prices specifically over tariffs on China during an earnings call on Thursday. Quote, we will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible, he said. But given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins. The higher tariffs will result in higher prices. Now, I think something that should have been made known, and I think Donald Trump could have emphasized a little bit more, is now that the tariffs were brought back down, because we're currently in a 90-day hold with China. So that should have been emphasized that, yeah, your prices might increase. I mean, look, Donald Trump is correct here. Eat the tariffs for a short time. The tariffs, because, again, you had that massive increase of, 145%, I believe, that we put on China. But now it's back down, I believe, 10%. So you'll have a short kind of, maybe even not as much gain, not as much margin as you originally had. So you can eat the tariffs now. And then when we get those shipments that are currently being dealt with right now, you'll kind of make that back over, because now you can, they already set the price level. The difference that you're absorbing right now is also going to be your gain later on. So again, whatever loss, if that's what you want to call it, they're not going to have a loss here, but you're going to have a crazy gain later on, because the cost of the good isn't going to be as much as it is now than it was in the past. So, that's what we got to deal with, though. We got to deal with the media. So Bassett has come out and speaks to Walmart CEO, dismisses draconian forecasts on tariffs. Bassett shared the developments on CNN State of the Union after McMillan announced last week that tariffs would lead to higher prices at Walmart. Now, I don't really shop at Walmart. Granted, I don't really shop many places. I'm a cheapskate. But here he was on CNN, allegedly the most trustworthy news source out there, is what we're told by CNN. Bunch of bogus liars over there.
Walmart announced this week it's going to have to raise prices on some goods, and they blame Trump's tariffs, particularly the tariffs on China. Here's the CEO. Take a listen.
We will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible. But given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins. We're positioned to manage the cost pressure from tariffs as well or better than anyone. But even at the reduced levels, the higher tariffs will result in higher prices.
So President Trump went on Truth Social and says Walmart should eat the tariffs. In other words, not pass on the prices to consumers. Doesn't that inherently serve as an acknowledgement that tariffs are essentially a tax on consumers? Because initially President Trump said, well, other countries, that's not true. Countries pay for the tariffs.
Does this guy still have a job as a journalist? This is the guy that came out with the book that said, well, I was completely shocked that Joe Biden had cognitive decline. Really, Jake? Not a journalist, you're an activist.
Tariffs. But here we have a perfect example. China gets these tariffs, and then Walmart has to raise its prices, and consumers end up paying for them.
Well, Jake, in essence, what you're saying is you're saying taxes are inflationary, so let's pass the Trump tax cuts, and that'll be disinflationary. If we continue that line of thinking.
I don't know that you can put me on as endorsing anything, but go ahead.
Let's just keep everything consistent. I did speak to Doug McMillan, who I have a very good relationship, yesterday, just to understand what he had to say. And, understand that came from an earnings call. On an earnings call, because of SEC requirements, they have to give the most draconian case. So Walmart will be absorbing some of the tariffs. Some may get passed on to consumers. But the other thing that's happening is that inflation is down. We had the first drop in inflation in 4 years under President Trump. The other thing that Doug mentioned to me is for his consumers, for his buyers, the most important thing are gasoline prices. And this administration has gotten gasoline prices down. Service prices are down. So overall, I would expect inflation to remain in line. But I don't blame consumers for being skittish after what happened to them 4 years under Biden.
He makes a good point. Remember the 4 years that happened under Joe Biden. There's a lot of terrible things that happened under Joe Biden. We don't need to rehash all those out because we're having a good time. Let's not end off on a negative note. Let's end off on a positive note that Donald Trump is making America great again. He's working with the Middle East to bring in trillions of dollars, which Joe could never do. Joe couldn't even get out of bed at noon while all of us are working, took 2 years of vacation. Donald Trump is making America great again, folks. He's out there on the front lines working. He's actually working 24/7. We already heard reports that the Marines that stand outside of his Oval Office whenever the president is inside the Oval Office virtually never leave. This guy does not sleep. He is doing anything and everything for our country, for all of us. And that's exactly why we all voted for him. At least I know I did 3 times. I actually adore the man. I think he's great. So if you're not familiar with what we do here over at Rumble, at the end of our show, we go and raid another channel. And I think this is a really important part of what we do here is we support fellow brothers and sisters out there that also have podcasts. We go out and we find channels that we can raid and we send our viewers to them. So if you're over at Rumble, I am going to pick you up and I'm going to send you to another person. And the goal here is what we do is we try to plug our show and we be respectful doing it. We go into somebody else's show and we plug our show in the chat and we can gain followers that way, but also we can engage with other like-minded people. And I think that's important, especially for us here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to raid Bubba Army. And Patriots, I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that joined us. Again, we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. If you're new here, hit that follow button so you can come and join us tomorrow morning. We would really, really love to have you. We'd love to have you in the chat or at least just watching and lurking nonetheless. Again, we do this each and every weekday morning, folks. You grab yourself a cup of coffee, watch the Bald Brad Show, and get the news. With that being said, take care of one another. Appreciate your parents. Whoa, Pete, the parent. Sound like Joe Biden. I appreciate you, Patriots. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow morning. Take care.